everyone. Welcome to another flight control stream. Today, we're going to be talking about the Blitz RPC plugin and all the magic that's happening behind the scenes. Today, we have Brandon Bayer, the creator of Blitz, to walk Alexandra and I through the RPC magic and give us a rundown on how it works. Brandon, how are you?
We're good. It's awesome. It's a great
Good,
Thursday in Ohio.
good. Thank you
Yep.
for taking the time now to show everyone the secret sauce of Blitz, because obviously this is a huge feature and selling point for the Blitz framework. And so knowing how it works in the back end, even though that it's open source and we get a little insight into your thought process and how it works, is extremely valuable. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah. So like I I I coded up like I built this new version, right? But so the goal here is to like kind of get you both up to speed on it so you can take over it
Yep,
and be able to kind of maintain it from here on. So yeah, should be fun.
for
Um,
sure.
let's see. Where's everyone joining from? Just drop your location in the chat.
I see
And
we have some viewers right now.
yeah, so I think the first thing I'll do is talk about like how the new Blitz RPC is different. Um, so we still have the same fundamental architecture where we abstract the API layer into a compile step, and so you as the developer don't have to worry about REST or GraphQL. You just write functions that run on the server, and then import them directly into your front end, and it just works. And so you don't have to mess with HTTP, no REST, no GraphQL, none of that kind of stuff. And so it's really incredible for your productivity and things. And before, since we had a fork of Next.js, the you would just like it just magically worked. Like there was no, you didn't have to import anything anywhere. And the way that we did that was through in the actual code, in the Next.js code that we forked. We just like would go and manually like we add those files to the build essentially. And so it wasn't with like a webpack or anything. Actually, there was a Babel plugin. I can open that up. Um, but essentially, this is your the on the API resolver in Next.js, and down here we just added this check to say, hey, is this an RPC route? And if it is, then we're just going to go ahead and run the middleware um, and like do the RPC thing. Otherwise, then we just do the standard Next.js thing. And so the like the when you have a let's see, so you have a query resolver that is going to be in some file path like this, and then your function is going to like look something like this. So you're just exporting a regular function. And so everyone, please ask questions if you have as we go along about anything. Like so, um, so this is your function that you just import into your front end like this. And so the magic is that this is just importing a regular function from the back end. But how do you get the API layer in there compile time? So previously we did that with Babel, but Babel is like going away, I guess, sort of, because Next.js has switched to SWC for better performance. And so um, let me just show you the Babel thing that we used to have. Let's see.
And this is
Um,
for the legacy Blitz that you're showing
yes.
us, just to clarify.
So this is what it used to be like. We had this Babel plugin. Um, and right here is like what it would. Let me increase the code a little bit, the size. So we would take this function that you would export, and then we would just like add this line and then all of this around it. And so we would import this um, function called build RPC resolver, and then this is what wrapped it with the like some of the kind of extra handling that we needed. And then the real magical piece is on the client side. And so this plugin, so instead of whenever you import that resolver into your front end in the client build, we would erase all your code and replace it with this this code snippet right here, where you have this build RPC client, and you just have the route path essentially, and it's just a little HTTP client. So you have this file with code, and then on the server, you need to wrap it with the HTTP handler, and then on the client, you need to replace all of that, get rid of all that server code, and replace it with just like a little fetch client essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yep. Cool.
Anthony has a question.
Yes.
Have you noticed any weirdness with SWC? Last year we tried to move Redwood to SWC and it broke like half the framework test. So we have not been doing anything at all with SWC. Like we have not touched it. It's all in Rust, and the there's like no at least last time I checked there was no documentation on how to write SWC plugins. And if you look at the source code for the plugin, it's like next level rocket mad scientist stuff. So we're not doing any SWC stuff. So we haven't noticed any weirdness. Have Dylan, you or Alexandra looked into any SWC stuff?
Not yet. No, not
Briefly.
much. No.
Briefly.
Yeah, like also briefly, like haven't tried anything.
But I agree. I don't think there's too many resources yet.
Yeah, it's still kind of the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best way to learn it is go get a job at Vercel working on Next.js, and then maybe you can get the knowledge and everything that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So previously we had these Babel plugins, right? And the problem with this custom Babel plugin is that it's incompatible with SWC. So Next.js either uses Babel or SWC, and we don't want to force people to use Babel. We want to be compatible with SWC. And because we had this we decided to do this pivot where we're no longer a fork of Next.js, like we can't even just customize the code. So we're sort of like, we weren't sure how we're actually going to solve this. The one way to solve it is to do like TRPC, where there's basically no magic. It's like all explicitly importing everything everywhere, and so you end up with kind of a lot more boilerplate. So we didn't want that. We wanted to retain this sort of magical experience where you import that function just into your front end and it works. So I was talking with the creator of Telefunct, and Telefunct is the same kind of thing where it's providing like a zero API layer that compiles to RPC. And they have it working with Next.js using a webpack loader. And I was like, oh, okay. Like this can probably work for us. And so I got digging into it, and that's how we ended up making this work, is through a custom webpack loader. So I was like quite excited because I just went digging into Telefunct's code, and I was going to, I just started copying their code to get the basics working, and I got it working for like one situation. I was like, yeah, like we made it work like quite quickly, and then I realized that it was totally broken because it only worked if you were doing server-side rendering.
Right.
For all other cases, it did not work. Their implementation did not work. And I was like, okay, my code's wrong. Like, what did I mess up? But then I kept digging and I realized that like, oh, it doesn't work with Telefunc either.
Hmm.
So maybe maybe they fixed that, but now, but they can, and so yeah. Anyways, I got to this point. Um, it was like a month ago, and it was right before we were trying to get this new like alpha release ready for React Miami, and
I remember that day.
I was like, trying to remember how I felt. I was like kind of like frustrated. I felt like I just like ran straight into a brick wall. It's like this impossible thing. Like no, like we got to get this to work, and I wasn't sure how to make it work.
Yep.
And so I was like, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Like really, I had no idea. So I quit work for the day. It was like Friday evening, and we went driving to go rock climbing with my brother and sister and brother-in-law. And I was on the way to the rock climbing. I was like, I got this idea. I was like, oh, you know what? I bet this is how we fix it. And I was like, yeah, I bet that's it. But I had to wait until like it was like a few days later until I could actually get and try it, and I actually got it to work. So
Just a few days later. It was probably almost the next day, I think, you came back with the solution. It was like two
it
days
might have
after
been,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember we posted on Discord and you were so excited about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was like short after, you started working on RPC.
I think it was like messages like, I have no idea what we're going to do. Like we're lost. And then it was like, yeah, like the next day I was like, I got it working.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
But I had the same thing back when I created Blitz and we were like trying to figure stuff out. Is like I run into these situations where like literally it seems impossible or I have no idea how to make it through. But like I always believe that there's a way to make it through. Like there is I don't believe anything is impossible. I believe like I can literally like if there's something impossible, like I can push the boundaries of impossible. Like I'll find some creative solution to like make it, to make it through.
It's a
And
good
so
mindset.
in this case, it wasn't. It didn't take too much magical rocket science, but it had like I'm not a webpack expert, and so I had to like just get the right thing. So let's go look at that.
Well, if you don't mind, let's see some magic.
Okay, so if anyone has questions, please drop them in the chat.
Nothing yet. Zero
Okay, so
regrets.
in the difference between Legacy Blitz and the new toolkits is that you are explicitly importing everything from Next.js. Like you're no longer using Next or Blitz. You're using Next and Blitz, and you can pick and choose which Blitz modules you want, whether you want just the authentication or just the RPC API layer or both of them. And so before we had blitz.config that would like automatically add our kind of like config stuff. But now you have your own next.config file, and you have to import this with Blitz wrapper, and this adds a custom webpack configuration, anything else that we might need in the future. And then your resolvers. So let's do like get users. So this is exactly the same. Like literally nothing has changed on this side from the user perspective from Blitz Legacy to Blitz 2.0. And literally nothing has changed on the client side either. It's exactly the same. So this is awesome because everybody loves how it worked before, so it works exactly the same before. But the implementation is different on how we change this file contents on the server and on the client, because that's how this actually works. There is one difference, and that is that we now have an explicit API endpoint. So inside your API folder, under the RPC route, you have this file that imports a function from Blitz, and then a wrapper function that handles middleware. And then, so this is like more explicit now. Where like before, this was hidden. Like you didn't have this file before. So you have to add this file for Toolkit 2.0, which allows you to, like, if you want to really do some custom stuff, you can. So it ends up being kind of nice. But under the hood, this still, like, you don't have to manually import every query and mutation resolver into this file. So that's the difference with like TRPC. With TRPC, you have to manually import all the resolvers like into this file or a similar file. And that was the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
That's what wasn't working.
Right.
With this thing to start with was it was not automatically importing all the files.
Got it. We have one question. Maybe we should get to that question after we do this walkthrough.
So let's go ahead and address it.
Yeah, you want to address it now? Okay, cool. So this is the question now. Code with David is currently having a problem where his folder structure is like so on the screen.
Okay, I'm not totally following it. So current folder structure is kind of like overview queries, and then when you import from queries/get all, it causes collisions. So what imports are causing the collisions? Also, to clarify, is this with Blitz Legacy, or are you trying Blitz 2.0? So we'll let him follow up on that. Okay, so we have, let's just kind of trace the code all the way through. So we have this next config file that imports this with Blitz wrapper.
Mhm.
And this comes from the blitz.js/next package. So we're going to go to next index server. And you can always see, this is Vim, by the way, if you don't know what this is. And the file path, if you're always wondering, right here. And this is on the main branch of our Blitz repo. So if you go into here and change canary as a default and go to main, this is where all the code for 2.0 is. And that's what I'm showing here. Okay, so here's this with Blitz wrapper, and it takes in next config and adds a webpack, custom webpack configuration. And so the beauty of this is that it doesn't interfere with the SWC stuff. So we can add custom like logic here, but still get to use SWC. This, you can just ignore this. Like, the only interesting thing here is this function. This is what installs our custom config. So if we go look at where this thing comes from, it comes from the RPC package. So let's go to RPC index server. And then here is this function.
And this is the beauty of our plugin system, is the fact that everything is modular now and working together. So I just wanted
Should
to
be much more approachable for anyone contributors to like
exactly
customize stuff instead of having the massive sprawling code base that it was before.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, so David said he's using legacy, but I'm assuming the same issue is there with 2.0. So for example, we have two modules, users and groups. Both modules have overviews, which results in module/group/overview, modules users overview. This is currently not possible because they both resolve to RPC get all. Okay, understood. So you have two different queries named get all, and they conflict. So I think we still have the same thing. Yeah. So the solution is name it differently, like get
Hmm.
all users. That's what I would suggest. That way it's more explicit for anyone reading your code anywhere. Like get all, like what is get all, and so get all users. That's personally what I would recommend. The other way is that you can nest it. So you have like slash user slash overview get all. Where's your queries in this case? But so you can add a folder inside of queries, and then that will namespace it. So it's like queries slash users slash get all. That will be different than queries slash groups slash get all.
But I think it's a good tip to be explicit with the naming.
Yeah. ETA on Blitz 2.0 release. So you can install and try Blitz out 2.0 right now. The alpha release is available. So install Blitz, so it's like npm dash npm I dash g Blitz at alpha, and that will then you can generate a new app, and it'll have this new 2.0 code. We're making great progress on that. Dylan and Alexandra are doing almost all the work on this, doing a great job. And the blocker at the moment is we're waiting on a new API to be added to React, so that we can have like the suspension stuff working correctly. We're expecting that within a couple of weeks, and that's the blocker for getting the beta release. And so once we have beta release, that's when we're going to be like, hey, that's when we're going to start using it in production, and recommend other people like start trying it in production, and then hopefully stable release will come soon after that. Curtis David, he missed queries the first time, and I know we can nest, but both these solutions are repetitive. Because if I'm already working in the users module, it becomes very, very repetitive to have to read users in every query mutation definition. Yeah, understood. Um, this is like it's and it's a classic trade-off, like of developers, like whether you like how to name stuff right. Um, so yeah, if you um, I don't know. I mean, you're welcome to open an issue or discussion and like propose alternatives that doesn't have the namespace conflict, or at least start a discussion around it and see if there's other people um, that it's a big deal for. But yeah, I would highly recommend just naming it get all users.
Yeah, and I'm trying to understand what he means by having to read users in every query mutation. And if I'm following correctly, we should be able to do that with the new 2.0 version using something like Next.js middleware, because essentially we couldn't do that before because of the older
I
Next
think he's
version.
talking about having users in the name, like get
Oh,
all
in the
users.
name
He doesn't
itself.
want to have get all users, but he wants to have
Oh, got it.
just get all. Which version of Next is being used underneath? It is up to you. So you are fully in control of Next.js with the 2.0 setup. So we're starting with 12. So we're like our development stuff is all using the latest Next.js 12 version. I forget what it is, but so yeah.
And if you came late, by the way, we were just showcasing how we wrap a next config file with a with Blitz function. So this live stream is recorded, and you'll be able to go back and check it out when you have some time.
Wave says I saw this mentioned in the meeting notes somewhere. Is disabling CSRF, which is what is CSRF? It's a cross resource cross site scripting thing.
Yeah.
I forget what it is at the moment. Um, is disabling CSRF on specific endpoints supported, or is there maybe some workaround with middlewares? So CSRF is important if you are doing post request. And so like if we're doing all our RPC endpoints are post request. If it's a GET request, it's not important. And there you can also, I think from a security standpoint, you don't need it if you have a certain configuration on your cookies. So maybe we can probably document this and add a way to disable CSRF. But currently, no. Currently, nothing has changed on that. I'm not sure. Do you two know if there's an issue open?
I don't believe so.
Well, I don't think so either. Like I don't recall any issue on that.
Go. Feel free to open an issue or have discussion regarding this, and we can try to see how to help you out. So at the moment, our priorities are getting the 2.0 like beta and then stable release out versus adding any like new functionality. But once we get this out, then yeah, we'll be like trying to work through all the open issues.
Yep. Okay, let's answer one more question, so then we could move on with going through the code base. Fluffy Raptor has a question regarding performance overhead when using Blitz.js.
No, there's zero overhead. The only like, well, okay, maybe slightly. Let's qualify this. So the only difference is that if you're using Blitz middleware, like authentication, for example, has a middleware component, and that will talk to your database on every request that is that's using that middleware, and so that will add a slight delay. But if you're doing authentication, like that's just, you have to have that, right? So like that's just part of it. But there's nothing inherent to Blitz. So if you remove that middleware, then there's zero performance overhead. It does increase your bundle size slightly if you're importing from Blitz. Specifically, Blitz RPC has React Query included on the client, which it's not that big. It's a little bit of size. But if you don't import from that, then like you're not increasing that. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so we're getting back to the code. We can go ahead and answer this question. So we're the way we do this new toolkit thing is the magic with the RPC layer is through webpack config instead of Babel. Webpack does not conflict with SWC, so webpack and SWC work together in Next.js. It's Babel and SWC that are not compatible. And previously we were using Babel, and so we're getting rid of that and using webpack now. So this right here is the configuration that we have. So we have a specific server loader that we use for this API file, which I can go open it. So that file is on the left. And so this is testing for this specific file and has a specific loader for that. And then the other rule is that we look for any queries and mutation resolvers. So this is going to be like this file. And it has a loader on this, but only on the client. Okay, any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So the loader server is so this is actually just a string path to this loader server file. And the reason we have to do this thing here is like we could import the source code directly in here, but this RPC index server is a runtime file. And we don't want all of the code for this webpack loaders in the runtime because it's only a build thing. This is why we have a separate, we just like resolve the location of that and then tell it where to find it. And so like webpack will load this dynamically, so it's never included in your actual app bundle.
Cool.
Okay, so loader server. This is the hold on, let's close that. So this is the loader that webpack is actually loading. It's just some webpack stuff. And right here we are running this function that goes into your file system and finds all of the resolvers. And then we are transforming the code of this server. So this is that oops, sorry. Sometimes my fingers go faster than my brain. Okay. And so this is going to transform this file to something else. So it's collect resolvers. Let's go look at that. And this just recursively goes through your code base. And and then it says, is it an RPC file? Which is in another file. If it is, then we just add this to an array, and then we return this. So this is going to return all of your query mutation resolvers. So now we're back up here to this loader. So now that we have all the resolvers, now we can go into the transform function. And remember, this function is going to change this file. So the first thing we're going to do is add an import. And we're going to import this internal API. So that's the import. And then we just append the regular source code. And then we loop through all of these resolvers. And we're going to get the path of that resolver, compute like the relative path from this file. And then we're going to take the file path and convert that to the actual API path. So we can go look at this. So essentially it strips out like your queries and mutations and everything before that, and it leaves you with just like /API/ or like /get users, for example.
Right.
And then it strips out the file extension.
Okay, so far makes sense. If anyone has any questions, let us know.
And then we use this internal thing to call this. So let's go ahead and look at what this looks like. So we're going to uncomment this. And I think now we can run Emacs and build. Okay, TypeScript error. Let's go to a different app and see if this works.
It's probably because the routes weren't generated.
Okay, here we go.
Cool.
So here's that new code statement. And so this right here is the new code. So you can see the normal export is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a separate line added for every single query and mutation. And this is the route path for that thing. And then we have a dynamic import pointing to that actual file. So this does a few things. It tells the Next.js build system that, hey, you need to include this file in like the production assets.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't, like that's the problem with Next.js is it's so smart, it removes all the files. that you're not using or it doesn't think you're using. And so if you're actually like using a file, computing it dynamically in a way that it can't detect, then you're not going to have that thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to, and so this right here tells it to include it in the build assets, but since it's dynamic, since it's a function, we're not actually calling the import yet. It doesn't load it until you actually need it. So it's lazy loading.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So that's very important for like your performance and things, right? Because you don't want the first time you load this thing, you don't want to. If you have like thousands of routes, you don't want to
Yeah.
load all that code.
Okay. Very cool.
So now we can go look at the source code for this thing.
The add Blitz RPC resolver, right?
Yes. Where is it even?
So in the meantime, I have a question. Like, correct me if I got it wrong. So like previously with the Blitz framework, we were like, we were looking for all the resolvers in queries and mutations, and then we were like copying them to API/RPC, and then there was this bubble magic like with the plugins, like wrapping it with the RPC stuff, but it was like actually Next.js creating API routes out of these files. And now the difference is that we're not copying them, we're just using this RPC, this Blitz API route, the single one with the setup, and we're just putting the imports there. Like we're not having all the pages. We're using the spread from Next to have this.
Yeah. So that is all correct, except that in the very first implementation, we were copying the files to a API folder. But whenever we the Next.js fork, we stopped copying the files, and we just added, like, changed the Next.js internals to treat those as API routes.
Okay.
So we just changed the logic where like instead of just looking for the API folder, we would also look for queries and mutations folders.
Okay.
But now,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
now all of that goes away, and it's only this file here is what is handling all of the exports or the imports.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so this internal add Blitz RPC resolver, essentially it just tracks this global object. There's some fancy stuff here that I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I copied it myself, and I assume that they had a good reason to do it.
I'm going to try and follow along here.
But this is just a global object. It looks like this.
Okay.
And so on this global object, it stores all of these loaders that we know about. And so this right here, all this does is just add this route with this and this on the global object. So then inside this handler, when we actually receive an API request, we look up this object to see what is available. So technically we could like change this RPC handler and like pass all of this stuff into RPC handler, something like that. But that's like complicated AST stuff that there's no reason to worry about. This is easier, simpler way to do it. So RPC handler. So here is that RPC handler function. And so it takes config, and then it returns the actual handler, which is just the Next.js request and response. Third context comes from our new middleware. And then here it just gets this object. which has and so we just look it up to say, hey, does this route exist? This would be the resolver. If there's no resolver here on this global object, then we don't have it. And then we go on, if we have it, then we go on and do the processing like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Clear as mud?
So far, yeah.
That's like all of the server side stuff.
Cool. Any questions from anyone? Nope.
So RPC index server. Okay, so we looked at loader server. Now we want to look at loader client and see how we change. Is going to be like this file here. How do we change the contents of this in the client build, and what do we change it to? So we're going to go look up the loader client file. And so here you have the same loader function. And oh yeah, so this one, see, the other one would only change the code if it was on the server. But this one is saying only if it's not on the server, only if it's on the client, then are we going to transform the code. Okay, and what we do is we take the file path and we convert the file path to route path, which is like the actual URL.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can get out the name and the type. And we replace this code over here on the right with this code right here. So we completely replace that with just this simple thing.
Got it.
And I think this is going to be RPC index client, index browser. Nope. Here we go. Okay, so this is that function that takes in the name, the type, and the route path. And this is the HTTP client. And here's that CSRF
I was just going to say.
And then we do like serialization, all that kind of stuff. And then here's where we do the fetch that route path, and then process the result. So this is all the garbage that we save you from having to write from scratch. So we handle errors and all this stuff really nicely. Okay.
Nice.
That concludes my tour.
Okay. I have some questions. Alexandra, do you want to ask anything as well, or?
Yeah, I have one question. Like, remember, Brandon, we were talking about like error middleware. It was also we had an issue about it. So with this on error in the API handler, yeah, we kind of got it solved, right?
Correct. I don't think we don't have this implemented yet. So it's
yeah.
RPC. Yeah, so we're not using it yet.
Yeah.
But once we add it, then you'll be able to use this to report errors to Sentry or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Currently, the only way to do that with your queries and mutations
Mm-hmm.
is literally do a try catch in here
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and do Sentry dot capture exception
In every file too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and throw E. Yeah, and like literally we have production code like this. It's terrible.
Cool. I'll ask something that might be good to have on this video and reference. So right now, our main focus is to get Blitz working with Next.js. Eventually, the goal is for Blitz to be a agnostic framework, meaning it can work with Next or Remix, etc. But right now, it seems like since we're using this with Blitz function, and then as well as it just seems very like it seems very tightly connected to Next. What would the process be in, like, let's say, getting the RPC stuff to work with Remix, for example? Can we still reuse a lot of the RPC code, and we just need to find a way to work with how, whether Remix is using webpack, etc.? I mean, there's like lots of questions regarding this, but
Remix
uh,
uses ES build currently, and they have
okay.
no plugin support. So that means that you literally cannot customize the compiler at all. And so
Mm-hmm.
the only way to get this to work with Remix is to take the TRPC route and like explicitly import everything everywhere.
Got it.
And so how it works actually is on the client instead of importing this function here, it would be something like this, where this would actually be like a string.
Mm-hmm.
This is how TRPC works.
Okay, got it.
So, currently, we'd have to do that. They were tweeting about the Remix folks were tweeting about plugins this week,
Mm-hmm.
so they might be working on it. In which case, we might could do that. But there's also I still have the open question around: does it even make sense to have RPC in a Remix app? Because their loaders take it provides a similar experience. Their
Mm-hmm.
loaders do for both queries and mutation, both reading and writing. Like the DX is different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Like in some ways, it feels like this approach is a bit in contradiction with the Remix approach of how they
Mm-hmm.
load data, of how they want like the best Remix experience is if Remix knows and controls your data fetching.
Right. Okay.
But the auth stuff for sure
Right.
would be really great to bring to Remix.
Right. And yeah, that's I was just going to bring that up. So even just working with passport stuff, or just, you know, simple, like just any function you need regarding authentication, whether it's securing the password, BlitzAuth would be able to handle that. And I guess that's the beauty of our current plugin system, like we were speaking about. So
Yes.
lots of advantages to this 2.0 migration.
All right. So someone's asking about documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is documentation at canary.blitzjs.com, and that is still a work in progress. But yeah, you can look at the docs there. If you find issues, let us know.
I'll leave the link on the screen for a little bit. Oh, you
How do you do that?
in banners.
Oh, banners. Oh, fancy. Look at you, streamer expert.
I hope everyone's been enjoying these streams. It seems like we keep getting more viewers every time we do a new stream, so we keep hitting new records. No problem, Nano. think we lost Brandon.
Yeah, that's
Hello?
too bad.
Hello?
Oh, there. Hey, okay,
Yeah.
Brandon's
My
back.
power literally just went out and came back on. Like my screen, like everything just like turned off. It came back
I
on.
mean, it's good that it happened after you walk through the RPC stuff, not in the middle.
I guess that's our cue. If anyone has any
Yeah.
questions, now's your time. Otherwise, you can join us
You can
in
post your
Discord.
questions on Discord.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And Alexander and I would be happy to help in any way possible. Also,
I
if
guess
anyone
we could show them the so if you go to the Blitz repo, go to projects, and then the old projects, I guess, and go to toolkit.
Mhm.
This is where we're tracking all of the work that we're doing for Blitz 2.0, and so you can see like what our plan is for what's in progress, what our plan is for this week, what is we need for the beta release, and then other stuff that we have to do yet.
Yeah, and that's another thing I'd like to bring up as well, is like past week and a bit I've been working on writing some sort of code mod, so it'd be very easy to convert your legacy Blitz applications into the new 2.0.
Yeah, so
And there are also some issues like marked as good second issue or good first issues. So if you want to help, like we can help you get started.
Yeah, I was gonna
questions.
bring that up. If anyone wants to contribute, doesn't know where to get started, even just simply getting Blitz set up on your local machine, just contact either Alexander and I, and either we can jump on a quick call or even just through Discord and walk you through getting it set up on your local machine. We'd be happy to help.
And if you're looking for a better way to deploy your applications, check out flightcontrol.dev. So the big problem that we're solving here is making it traditionally with like Heroku or things, they're really easy to use, but they're limiting and restricting, and so like especially once you reach a certain point of scale, becomes really like too limiting, and you have to switch out to AWS directly, or some of these things just become too expensive, and so we give you that ease of use, that same developer experience, but on your own AWS account. So you don't have to know anything about AWS to use flight control. But if you do, then you have full power to go in and tweak and customize and integrate. So like we're setting this up to be like the default deployment solution that people think about when deploying new applications. So we support servers, databases, and static sites currently, and then we have things coming like background processing and really cool stuff like that.
And that's going to be huge. And of course, since it's Blitz is also a flight control project, that there's first class support for Blitz projects with flight control.
Yep. So flight control maintains Blitz. So we pay Alexander and Dylan to work on Blitz full time, and so more users using flight control, the more we can
you get to see our faces.
More we can invest into Blitz. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Well, Brandon, thank you for your time. And if anyone wants to catch this live stream, it'll be hosted on YouTube that we will post everywhere. So, yeah. Good stuff.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have an awesome day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.